This video is sponsored by Factor75. Get fresh, ready-made meals delivered to your doorstep when you sign up with Factor. Their menus are updated weekly. They have seafood, veggie, and keto options if that's what you're looking for. Check my link in the description below and use code FACTORSE10507 for 60% off your first box.
It's been a while, so we had to start.
Damn it!
Had to start.
Why
with
do we have to start with K-Sorbs?
Gotta start with K-Sorbs.
No!
We gotta. It's been so long. It's so good, though. It's so good. How can people justify grown men wearing makeup and twerking in front of their kids, says the actor whose job it is to wear makeup and who spent a good chunk of the 90s wearing a fucking leather loincloth for a kids show.
Yep. It's like, if you just look at this statement on its own, twerking in front of their kids, just honest, because like the wearing makeup thing, I don't think we have to really care about.
No,
he's an actor, he's wearing makeup, but there are guys who will literally just be like, "Wow, I slept like shit last night. My eyes look real sunken in. I'm gonna touch that up." But in terms of the twerking part, how many parents has K-Sorbs seen twerking in front of their kids, and do we need to take his phone so we can get off TikTok?
Okay, so this is where we might differ a little bit. So it depends on the manner of the twerking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's one thing to be like twerking in a thong and like making those cheeks clap.
Yeah.
It's another thing.
But if you're just doing the butt motion.
Yeah, my son at one point, my 11-year-old, he like turned around and started twerking at me for, I don't know what the reason was. I don't know what was going through his head. He's an 11-year-old boy. Weird things go through his head. It happens. But my response to that was be like, "Did you just twerk at me?" He was like, "Maybe." So then I turned around and twerked at him. But of course we're both terrible at it, and it was not sexual. It was just like
yeah.
I'm not good. Well, I'm not good enough at twerking for it to have been sexual.
You can't. Are you saying you can't make that ass?
I don't make the cheeks clap.
So no, I guess it's I guess my thing there is, if K-Sorbs is talking about the sexual version, because I'd imagine that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, there's a difference between sexual twerking and just being a goof.
But I also wouldn't put it past K-Sorbs to be mad about the goofy version too, because that's not what real
he
men
probably
do.
Thinks if he heard me talking about this, he would undoubtedly insist that I am a pervert for twerking at my son. But like, no, we were just it's a dance move. We were being silly with each other.
Just ask K-Sorbs how old Mary was when Joseph took her as his bride.
Or when God raped her. Yeah, isn't the canonical answer to that 13?
I think it's 12. But
12.
Yeah.
No, I think it's 12 is when she got pregnant by God, and then so 13 would have been when Joseph married her. And if you're Catholic, though, Joseph never had sex with her. Jesus' brothers were from Joseph's previous marriage because Joseph was an old man when he married the 12-year-old girl. That doesn't make it better! Why do they think that makes it better? Why?
It's like when you're talking about Islam and you're like, let's talk about Aisha. When did that happen?
But he waited until he waited until she was 13. It was so romantic. Or was it 13?
9. He waited until she was 9.
9 is when they married. They didn't consummate the marriage.
6 is when they were married. Consummated at 9.
I made it better in my head, and better was still absolutely horrendous.
The bar was low, and we failed to clear it.
I'm going to get another beer. That calls for a beer.
I think you need it. I think you need it. Jesus. Anyway, let me look in my chat real quick, see what's going on. I hate Twitch says, I swear this drag fad has to stop now. It should just be adults. It's harming the whole LGBTQ community. No, it's not. I hate Twitch. I hate Twitch. A thing you'll probably notice over the course of like several generations is conservatives are incredibly arbitrary with what they choose to moral panic over. So you can select whatever thing the LGBTQ community is known for at a given time and say that they're destroying the credibility of the LGBTQ community because they're doing the one thing conservatives are mad about right now. But 15 years ago, I never heard any conservatives bitch about drag shows.
No.
Most people, and I live in the South.
I think we have a tweet about that coming up.
Most people literally just kind of looked at them as something that was funny and you might go to as a joke. And that was in conservative circles that I hung out in when I was 15 and a fundamentalist. So, again, whatever moral panic conservatives are bitching about right now, if you change the one thing unilaterally across an entire community, they will find something else afterwards.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna kind of get to the drag show thing. But that's like the last tweet. Dale Partridge says, canceling church to celebrate Christmas is like avoiding your wife to celebrate your anniversary. It's illogical. So I can kind of see where he's coming from. It's like canceling church. Yeah, but like a lot of people celebrate Christmas secularly.
Yeah. And like, if you just want to have, you know, a private, okay, so this very important one. If I were to just look at this from the Christian lens, back when I was a Christian, not going to church but having just like a inter-family Christmas, I didn't even see that as secular, because in my head and the way I was taught, and granted, taught this from PCA of all places, Pensacola Christian Academy, is that your relationship with Jesus is personal. So you don't have to go to a church to celebrate your relationship with Jesus.
That's the whole point of the Protestant Reformation.
So
is that the Catholics were trying to say you have to go through a priest to get to God, whereas they were saying, no, you can have a relationship with him yourself.
So, like, if I look at this from an atheist perspective, it's funny, and I giggled. If I look at it from my old Christian perspective, so I get mad.
Ocean Waves just sent me a link to an article from Penn State University about the history of twerking. I'm not going to read it now, but I might have some updated opinions next week. I don't know. We'll see. Probably not. I mean, like, because my opinion is that it's fine. It's just a thing. Like,
yeah,
you can do it non-sexually. Yeah, but like, I see what he's going for, but it's like, I don't think I ever went to church on Christmas. You go to church on, like, when I was growing up, you go to church on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day is a time to spend with your family. And like, yeah, we were a fairly religious household, but like, and like, yeah, we did go to church on Christmas Eve, but like, the holiday itself was more about spending time with the people that you love. And
but
as an atheist now, that's still what it is. Like, Christmas is about spending time with my family.
But Rhino, don't you love Margaret, who screams at her cats in pew 3 right in front of you?
Yeah, people are mentioning midnight mass. No, I never did the midnight mass thing. That was like, the Christmas Eve service was always at like 8 o'clock or something. And that's actually the one thing I miss, is that I used to, when I worked at the Fort Erie racetrack, the uniform that they gave me was like this bright red shirt. And so I got a lime green tie. And so every Christmas Eve, I would go to church in my bright red shirt and lime green tie. And that's like the one thing I miss about church, is wearing that ridiculous outfit. Hey, I'm actually I'm wearing a red sweater and a green shirt. I mean, it's like an olive drab green rather than a bright green, but
it's close enough in spirit.
It's, yeah,
Christmas spirit.
Let's just pretend I did that on purpose.
At least I selected a snowy background on purpose.
Meanwhile, I got my tripod for my camera back here because I got nowhere good to put it. There's a bin of random cables on top of some styrofoam from a thing that I opened. I normally clean up behind me before these streams. That's been there for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, but you were asleep when I got onto the Zoom call.
Yeah, I woke up and was like, I need to move these things off my desk because they're in the shot.
Look, I'm just happy that my background can be whatever thing from Mario Galaxy or Pokemon Snap that I want it to be. This one's from Galaxy.
Alrighty. Next up, we got PragerU, who says, if you care about the poor, you should love capitalism.
So I'm I hate to be the one that's 50-50 on this one because I know where they're coming from on this. Technically speaking, capitalism as a thing, the argument usually goes that the introduction of capitalism raised the standard of living for most people in whatever given region capitalism is introduced in. That's usually what they try to do, is they'll say like, hey, even if you're very, very poor, your standard of living is higher now than it was before. What they're ignoring is that our standard of living tends to go up not because of our economic system, but with technology.
Yeah, and with government regulation, because remember, in the Industrial Revolution, it was not uncommon that the way corporations would solve a workers' strike was to send in armed troops to shoot the people that were striking.
Yep.
And there were instances in American history where there were strikers camped out in tents where the people striking had to dig holes in the earth underneath their tent so that they could get into their holes when the guards came by and started shooting at them. And these were not like just the workers. These were the workers and their wives and children.
Yep. Like what we consider union busting nowadays is much more tame compared to what it used to be. So, like, that's the angle that I know Prager is coming from there. I still disagree with it. It's still fucking wrong. But I know the angle of attack they're trying to use.
No, I get what they're going for. But, like, capitalism has oil companies that have massive amounts of power, and they're producing pollution that disproportionately affects the poor and makes them less healthy and gives them a shorter life expectancy. So, like, no, that's not how it works in practice.
It's even worse than just oil companies, though, because
that's just the easy go-to. Like,
well, it's specifically the fact that because of the tendency for capitalism to lead to monopolies, the amount of oil companies there are shrinks the longer and longer we go.
Yeah.
And as a result, when they gain monopolies have more lobbying power.
Yep.
And if they have more lobbying power, we get things like, oh, I don't know. How much money did Exxon spend on bunk studies? Probably as much as the tobacco companies did, I'm sure. And the sugar companies.
No, they're, the oil companies are definitely doing the same thing the tobacco companies were doing back in the 50s and 60s.
No, and sugar companies as well. Same thing.
Yep.
The entire reason we have the lipid hypothesis is because they were trying to sell sugar and yogurts more.
You don't need sugar in yogurt. Just throw some fruit in there. That gets you enough sugar.
Like the whole like low fat craze that happened in America in the 90s and early 2000s was just remove the fat out of something and then shove a bunch of sugar into it, which didn't make it healthier. It made it worse.
No, yeah, it did. Yeah, low fat is good to a point, but like, yeah, sugar kills.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got S.J. Thomason. She hasn't been on here in a while. She's Catholic now.
Yeah, I saw that. It makes me wonder some things about her particular Protestant convictions that she held when she was on my channel talking with me.
Cameron Bertuzzi is a Catholic now.
Who is?
Cameron Bertuzzi.
Huh. Did everybody just hang around Craig Reed for too long and now
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can definitely see Cameron going, like, SJ, she's kind of like, I've always kind of considered her to be bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Cameron, he's also bottom of the barrel, but he pretends like he's not, and he does a better job at pretending it than she does.
He's bottom of the barrel with high production values.
Yeah. Well, he's a photographer, so he knows how to light things, unlike me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm enough of a hobby photographer that I know what I'm doing wrong lighting wise, but I don't know how to fix it. Yeah, anyway, so I was going to say something. Oh yeah, so I with regards to Cameron going Catholic, I can definitely see that, because like the pseudo intellectualism that comes with the Catholic philosopros, I can totally see him getting into that really deep and enjoying that a lot, because that's his whole shtick.
Look, it has a very rich history of intellectualism. No, it has a very rich history of snobbery and talking down to people in Latin.
I mean, at the same time, I can kind of see why you would lean Catholic, because like just based on church history, Jesus did pray to God that all his disciples and those that came to know him through his disciples would be unified in their message for as long as the message continued. So Catholicism has that whole apostolic succession thing going on that I can definitely see the appeal of that if you think that God would answer his own prayer to himself, but it still doesn't work. Because, like, there's still splintered denominations, so obviously God did not answer that prayer to himself. Otherwise, there would only be one Christian church. You wouldn't need to change to the one that is still the right one.
It's amazing that we've gone through all of this and we haven't actually talked about her tweet because of the baggage there is with S.J. Thomason.
And just Catholicism in general. Anyway, so has contraception, birth control via the pill, etc., been a net positive for society? Absolutely, yes it has. 100%.
Not only has contraception given people the option to control their cycle a lot easier, because in a lot of cases, it can make your cycle less of a problem, especially for people who have very, very heavy flows, but also, on top of its regulatory abilities, it can protect you from a myriad of problems, the least of which being somebody trying to trap you with, sexual assault.
Even that aside, time and time again, it's been shown that giving women access to family planning resources, like contraception, is good for the economy of whatever country that happens in. You want to get a country out of poverty? Give them women's rights.
Well, it's almost like having 50% of your population being able to enter the workforce and leave when they choose, as opposed to
not being stuck raising 10 kids because you had no way to stop 10 kids from happening.
Yup.
Yeah. It's very much a positive for society.
It's like, it's one of the most basic ass things too. Like, if you just ignore the contraceptive part, just say, hey, if you have a society where 50% of the people are supporting the other 50%, is that fair and is that an efficient society? Most people would say no. And then you go, okay, cool. What if we could get that other 50% to start working? Yeah, that would be a good thing. Okay, cool. So we agree contraceptives are good. And they're like, oh, I didn't know we were talking about that. I'm like, yes, we were. We were talking about it the whole time.
Yeah, but no, women need to be stay-at-home moms. Because that's better for the kids.
They need to be pregnant and barefoot, and they need to forget the name of their 11th child with 6 toes.
I heard a sketch the other day. I think it was the podcast Citation Needed. They did an episode on condoms. And it was basically like, this is like, we need to put more research into male birth control methods.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've had a vasectomy. One of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. I'm so happy that I made that decision. So it makes everything else so much easier. But yeah, because the pill actually does have some really nasty side effects. Like, it can cause weight gain, it can cause weight loss, it can cause cancer, it can mess with the woman's hormones to the point where like there are stories of like when people stop taking the pill, suddenly they're a different person who is no longer attracted to their long-term partner because it suppressed those natural parts of their endocrine system.
Mm-hmm.
And so like more effort needs to be put into male birth control methods as well. It was like there was that male birth control pill that flopped out a while ago. It did not flop out as was commonly reported because there were like minor side effects that none of the men could deal with. That was like there were some major ones that made them stop it. It wasn't the minor ones that got the kibosh.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, no, we need to we need to like snip some vas deferens or something. Find a way to do that chemically without it being permanent in guys.
I mean, there are reversible vasectomies.
No, hey, vasectomies are reversible, but it costs like $5,000 to reverse it. At least in Canada. It might be more in the States.
Yes, it's probably more here.
Well, so in Canada, that's not a covered thing because like getting the vasectomy, that was covered. Is like,
but reversing it is not.
Yeah, reversing it is not. No, because that's elective. Like they categorize it like a vasectomy after. I think I might have had to pay for it if I didn't have kids. I'm not sure about that one, but like I had 3 kids, so it's like I got it fairly young. But it was like I already have 3 kids, so it's fine. Like whatever.
Yeah, luckily Raz's hysterectomy was covered under insurance because everything has to be through insurance here. Otherwise, you die.
Yeah, your system's so fucked up.
It is.
The worst part is though, like, the main excuse for high prices of medical stuff in the States is that like, oh well, it funds the research and development.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, because most of the most expensive part of the R&D is government funded through government funded universities and government grants to those universities to do the research. And then when they find something with promise, they will then sell that idea to the pharmaceutical companies, who then do the final steps of the research. But the most expensive portion of the research is publicly funded already.
Mm-hmm.
So like, just fucking publicly fund your fucking medical expenses already. Sorry,
Cult of Cautious Optimism in my chat just said, hello, I'm a pharmacist. One of the biggest concerns with male birth control is prostate and colon cancer due to endocrine changes not generally seen in the same proportion in female birth control.
Sure. So let's throw some money at R&D for that.
Yeah. That's usually how we fix that. Unless you want to take the scissors to people's scrotums.
So reversing vasectomies should also be covered. I'm actually kind of glad they weren't, because Mrs. Rhino and I had a disagreement about how many kids we should have. So like, we agreed we should take a break after our third, but she wanted another one. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get my vasectomy, and then if you convince me to have a fourth, then I'll get it reversed and we will have a fourth. So that was kind of like this is where I can kind of appreciate the female perspective on this. Obviously not to the same degree at all, but because like, I know she never would have tricked me into having a kid. But like, just the fact that it's like, okay, it's completely in my control. I have to sign forms consenting to having this procedure reversed before I can have another kid. It's just, it takes a load off your mind. And like, yeah, before she died, she had come to terms with the fact that we were probably just going to stick at 3, and 3 was enough. And like, no, we can't do 4.
Mm.
And now I'm with a girlfriend that has 2, so I've got 5.
It is amazing how that works out.
It's okay. Her kids are cute though, so it works. Anyway, on to Andrew Tate.
God damn it.
I know, only the best on Twit tweets.
I saw this one.
So, yeah, Elon Musk taking over Twitter has been bad for everything except for Twit tweets. It's made it so much easier to find these tweets. But, so Andrew Tate, author of a book, of multiple books, I think, Andrew Tate, says...
I don't think he wrote them, but yes.
Yeah, but he says, reading books is for losers who are afraid to learn from life. So they try and learn from the life of others have lived, but you never really learn unless you live it. You must feel it to believe it. Books are a total waste of time. Education for cowards. I kind of want the publisher of his latest book to, on the back where there are quotes and blurbs and stuff, just put, books are a total waste of time, Andrew Tate. That would just be delightful to me. But like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, there's something to be said for personal experience. And like, there are some things, like, if you play a sport, reading a bunch of books on that sport is not going to make you get better at that sport. It can help, for sure. But you do need to actually practice the thing.
Physical conditioning and muscle memory.
But like, when it comes to stuff like, I'm sorry, but I want my doctors to have read the books to learn all the medicine that
you want them to poke around in your insides.
I don't want my doctor to be experimenting on me because they didn't read the experiences of other doctors in the peer-reviewed journals. Like, no, that's not how it works. Education is not for cowards. Education is for people who want to, like, do better. Like, think of it this way. You know, there's that classic example of, like, telling your kid not to touch a hot stove. Now imagine you have 2 kids and you tell the kids, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And then, like, they're not going to listen to you because you're a parent, and they don't listen to parents because they're kids.
Yeah.
Fucking kids. But like, if you're one of those kids, would you rather be the kid that is the first one to try touching the stove, or would you rather be the one that like watches the first one do it and then learns from that other person's experience? Like, oh, I have learned from my brother that touching the stove is a bad idea because I see that his hand is now all burnt up and he screamed and he cried and now he's like got bandages on his hand to like keep the burn. Like, nope, I'm good learning from his experience on that one.
Yeah. It's aside from the fact that all of this is just anti-intellectual. The people who make Andrew Tate able to continue to gain money through technology had to read books at some point to get there, and he's just like, no, I'm better than all of you. I imagine
he publishes books. He gets paid for other people reading his books, but he says books are a total waste of time. It's like, okay.
Well, yeah, because he believes that his audience are beneath him. Like that's consistent with his ideology.
Well, I actually don't know a lot about Andrew Tate. I like the first I heard of him was when he came back to Twitter, and that was a big thing.
So,
like I know a bit about him. Like I know he's got some white supremacy things going on, and
he's also potentially, allegedly, maybe been involved in human trafficking.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, Illuminati did a very, very good breakdown of the history of Andrew Tate.
That's Illuminati spelled Naughty.
Yeah, Blair.
Yeah,
it's Blair.
She's good. I like her.
Her video on Andrew Tate is very, very detailed and goes into a lot of the history where he's concerned.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds like the kind of thing that I want to watch. Illuminati. Oh no, she does it with two. So it's What? Okay. I never paid attention to how she spells her name before. It's like IILLUMINAUGHTII. Or at least that's what the search thing is. But yeah. So Andrew Tate, the Incel King, 28 minutes long. Oh, so do you know the Netflix show Final Space?
No, I don't.
So it's a fantastic show. I love it. It's great because it's like the episodes are short. They're like 20 minutes long. So, and it's one of those goofy shows that like if you miss a bit, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like it can make you laugh because it's completely ridiculous, but then it really tugs at your heartstrings and can make you cry as well. It's a fantastic show. It was canceled before they wrapped up their final storyline, so like it ends on a cliffhanger, so that's annoying. But the one thing I don't like about it is that the main character Gary picks up his girlfriend Quinn using kind of incel methods where like he hit on her in a bar and she was not receptive, and then he ended up accidentally committing a crime and going to prison for 5 years. And then like every day of his 5-year sentence, he like sent her a video message talking about how much he loved her or whatever. And it's like, he'd known her for all of 10 minutes. And then they actually end up being a couple that like really love each other and everything. But it's like, that's the one thing I don't like about it, is that like, that's kind of incel-y, like being all pursuing her even though she shows no interest and you've known each other for like 0 time on the grand scale of things.
Yeah, it's so I guess I haven't seen the show, so I have no perspective.
It is a good show despite what I've just said about it. That's like the one bad thing.
I will have to see it, though I do have to ask for context. Is it that she said I don't know, or is it that she went no,
she actively rejected him several times.
No, then fuck him. Then fuck him. No, there was
there was a thing where like future her came back and was like, no, we actually are a good couple together, and so that kind of softened
she had to be told by future her to unincel the incel.
Yeah, like I don't know, it's such a good show. Like, I'm making it sound bad, but it is a good show. That's just like the one thing that's like, oh, I wish they'd have done that differently.
There was a partner of mine for 4 years that, not 4 years this happened, but they were a partner of mine for 4 years. Where when I told her that I liked her, the response she gave me was literally an "I don't know. Give me some more time to think." So there was about 3 months of me going, "Hey, how are you feeling? I need some more time to think." Okay.
I mean, told that's a bit oversimplified, Rhino. Yes, I've over like there's 3 seasons of the show.
For like 2 seconds.
It's 3 seasons of the show. I'm not gonna like completely like elaborate on the whole plot. Plus, my girlfriend's in here saying oh, spoilers because I'm actually in the process of watching the show with her. I have not given any major spoilers. I don't think they're together yet. The point we're at, I don't know. I'm watching it with my kids as well, which it's actually not a kid appropriate show. But like it's not that inappropriate, and it's like it's stuff that I know they're exposed to at school. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of have mixed feelings about that, where it's like I want to protect my kids and keep them innocent, but at the same time I know they're not. They go to school, they're with other kids that have done other stuff, and like
Have they been on the internet?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
too late.
Well, my daughter in particular, my boys still miss a lot of the dirty jokes, but like my daughter is now at the age where she gets them, and she will like give me like these awkward looks, like oh, dad,
Have you had her watch Animaniacs yet?
No. Oh. Okay, new goal.
Go through Animaniacs.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the fingering Prince joke that they did.
Mm-hmm. Fingerprints.
Oh my god, that show. Oh,
nurse.
that show. That was such a good show.
It was a very, very good. It's a show that I liked as a kid, and I appreciate as an adult.
It's a completely different show as an adult. Oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, we got Richard Tice here. Let's see. I'm gonna shrink that down a little. Oh yeah, we got a global warming. We're all over the map today. It says coldest day for 12 years. So what happened to global warming? Climate zealots be a bit quiet today. That one was accompanied by an image that was like, there's like one city in the UK that's had the coldest temperature it's had since like in the last 12 years. And it's just like,
is it the coldest it's had in the last 100 though?
No, it's not. Just
wow.
12. Last 12.
Funny that's
almost
a real
like
specific.
Almost like the Earth is getting warmer.
Yeah, that's a real specific amount of time to hold on to.
It's like if it was regularly colder than that, and now when it hits that cold, it's a notable occasion. That means the Earth is getting warmer.
I remember when I went to the Portland Retro Game Show, and I was in Oregon, and wondering why the fuck it felt like Florida, and yet it was early November, I want to say. So like it should have been cold.
So
no.
When I was growing up as a kid, it was a regular occurrence that we had to wear our snowsuit. Like when we were getting our Halloween costumes, we had to make them big enough to fit over top of the snowsuit because it would snow on Halloween and it would be fucking cold. Now with my kids, it usually rains on Halloween and it's like moderately cold, but like kind of warm. So like you can do thinner costumes and just like make sure they have a jacket on or something. It's like in my lifetime, I've noticed a difference as time progresses. It's getting warmer.
Yup. Funny
so, like,
that.
And yeah, of course, there's like the whole thing here is like this guy doesn't know the difference between climate and weather. So like one really cold day does not mean the entire Earth is not warming.
We have one really cold day. Now let's have a separate conversation about how many species currently cannot inhabit places they've classically been able to inhabit for the past 50 years.
Yeah, let's ask the polar bears what they think about the global warming situation.
Every day it's like a slip and slide.
They can't find the seals anymore, or they can't hide from the seals anymore because they used to like sneak up on them, blending in with the white that was all around them. They would actually like crouch down and like cover their black noses when they thought the seals were looking. kind of cute, but they can't do that anymore because it's all water. But yeah, so yeah, climate's definitely changing. And it's changing to a degree where a lot of the climate change denialists have now shifted from the climate isn't changing to the climate is changing, but humans aren't the ones causing it.
Yep. They do the whole the warming and cooling cycles of the world are in perpetual motion, which is technically true, but not to the degrees we're seeing.
Yeah, but then they'll do the medieval cool period was significantly colder than the Earth is, or no, there was a medieval warming period. I don't know. But one of these things is one of the high points or whatever. It's it was significantly warmer than it is today. And it's yeah, if you look at just the European average, but if you look at the global average, we're still way above where they were then. But Europe is the only place that matters if you're white.
When you have to be very selective with your data all the time, I can't trust your data. Sidebar, I know you haven't watched it, but if you ever get the time to watch Evangelion, one of the first things that happens in that series it happens before the series begins, is the polar ice caps melting. A significant amount of the world is just...
That's also the first thing that happens in Waterworld.
But the in Evangelion, a significant amount of the world is just underwater, and several cities have had to convert to having underground versions of themselves because being above ground is just that excruciating for long periods of time. Not to mention there's the main character, he goes into his new roommate's house for the first time, and she has a pet penguin because they have refrigeration and it's one of the only places that those animals can live anymore. And he just has no idea what the fuck it is. He's what is that? Why is it in your house? It's a penguin. It lives here because we have a refrigerator.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give it a watch. But also,
it's not a long show.
I actually like Waterworld. But I also have a history of liking really bad movies. The Core is one of my favorite movies. So...
Wait. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
You like Waterworld too?
No, The Core specifically.
Oh, it's so good. But it's it's not good for the reasons the people who made it think it's good.
I love the scene in The Core where the nerd is running around with magnets and microwaves trying to nuke all of his hard drives.
I love... Yeah, that's good. My favorite part, though, is when lightning strikes a stone building, which causes it to burst into fire.
I like when they go inside the Earth's core and it's all floating geodes, anti-gravity floating geodes.
Oh, that is it's such a good unintentional comedy.
What's funny is that the first time I watched it was in science class. It was my science fun story. My science teacher in the 10th grade ninth grade was the one who convinced me that evolution was real because he was Catholic and I was PCA. We were told that all Christians are Christians, just some are more right than others. So in my brain, this was just a different Christian in a position of authority telling me evolution was real for the first time. And so that was my catalyst to believing science was real.
See, I had a similar...
PCA was bad.
I had a similar catalyst, but it was the opposite direction because kids are programmed to trust the adult authority figures. They're programmed by evolution because that's a survival advantage. So I was in grade 8 when I told my Christian lifestyle class teacher that, I think evolution is real, but God just guided it. To which he just looked me dead in the eyes and was like, oh, good for you, but you're wrong.
What?
And that was all it took was oh, well, this guy he's a teacher. He's must be vetted by the school to be to know what he's talking about. And he's telling me that evolution's wrong. So evolution must be wrong.
Not what that means.
And it wasn't an immediate mind change on my part, but that was a significant event in I don't remember much of grade 8. I remember that.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is the last tweet. Yeah, this is the last tweet of the night.
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh says, question for quote unquote conservatives who supported the gay marriage bill, having seen the White House use the bill's signing as an opportunity to promote drag queens and child castrations. I'm going to need a citation on the child castrations thing because I don't think that's the thing that they've promoted. Do you stupid patsies now understand what's really going on, or have you still not figured it out?
Yeah, when he's doing the child castrations thing, he's trying to talk about trans kids.
Yeah, no, but
it's
when
again,
when has any child gotten castrated as part of gender affirming care? Like, in very rare instances, they might do top surgery on someone who is assigned female at birth.
Usually, they'll only do that if they're like, "Hey, there's a risk of breast cancer." Elsewise,
well. And even if it's not because of a risk of breast cancer, it's like you have to have a history of several years identifying as male. You have to have parental consent. You have to have like a psychological evaluation to show that you're mentally capable of making that decision. Like, it's not, they don't just like, you walk into a doctor's office, say, "Hey, I feel like a boy. Okay, let's chop your titties off." That's not how it happens, even though that's the picture that conservatives paint.
Yep.
And as far as the drag queen thing goes, like, men have been wearing dresses for as long... Well, okay. Let me back that up a bit. Men have been wearing women's clothing because, like, let's be real, in ancient Greece, what we would consider a dress as feminine clothing, they would consider the masculine clothing, and there are actually instances where Greek soldiers were making fun of, I think it was the Persians, because the Persian soldiers wore pants, and they were like, "Ha, they're dressed like girls because they're wearing pants. Real men wear skirts."
No, and pantyhose began as guys' attire for riding horses. It made it to where you were warmer.
We're men in tights. Schrodinger's cat says, "I'm sure you could find one example if you looked hard enough." It's like, maybe? I actually have my doubts about that. Like, not for trans affirming care. Like, maybe there's some crazy medical like you talk about CRISPR. CRISPR is it's a gene editing technology. It's super cheap. I don't think it's approved for use in humans yet because there's too many unintentional edits to the genome. I forget what the actual terminology is there, but there was like one doctor in China that, like, because the technology is so cheap and accessible, he just took it upon himself to like genetically modify a pair of twins in a person. So, like, there might be something like that where it's like, no, this is not approved by the medical community. This is, like, universally condemned. Bad thing, don't do it.
But it gives
like,
us
there's
data.
there's not going to be an instance of, like, yeah, no, this was the appropriate thing, unless there was, like, something like testicular cancer or something going on. But, like, yeah, this is where, like, men wearing women's clothing is not a problem. Clothing is just a social construct. That what clothing is considered male and female changes as time goes on. It does not matter. Jesus wore a dress.
Women in blue jeans 40 years ago was seen as a no-no. Nowadays, it's seen as fashion.
No, he didn't
has
have
been
long
for
hair.
the past 25 years.
Yeah, so sorry, my daughter's just over here. She said Jesus wore a dress and had long hair, but no, he probably didn't have long hair because that was prohibited by the religion at the time. That's just the picture of white Jesus that we get today. That's not what Jesus would have actually looked like.
Are you saying white Jesus ain't real?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't believe you. My Jesus is white, and he says my daughter can't marry a black man.
Jesus was brown, and he probably had short curly hair.
My pastor once said Jesus was Jewish, and I don't agree with that. I don't want to explain why.
Indeed.
Wait, Jesus is real. His name was Ewan.
No, that's Space
Ewan
Jesus.
McGregor.
That's Space Jesus, not White Jesus. Yeah, Ewan McGregor is real White Jesus.
Space Jesus?
Space Jesus is Elon Musk.
No, Space Jesus is the Tamagotchi.
The Tamagotchi cat.
Yes.
The Tamagotchi cat is Space Jesus, according to my daughter.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, my daughter's over here offering commentary. I think that means it's time for me to go.
Time for you to skedaddle.
I can't swear anymore because there's a minor over there.
Are you saying she causes a minor problem?
All right. Anyway, thanks for joining me, everybody. It's been fun. Thank you, Suris. But yeah, I will see y'all next week, probably. I don't know. It's Christmas coming up. I might take next week off. I'm not sure. But hey, Twit Tweets is back. It's been a while because we did fundraising stuff. Raised almost $12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Bye.
Mostly on the back of Paul.
All right. What did we agree my sign off was that other time? I forgot.
Was it fuck off? I don't remember.
Yes, it was, but I've got a minor.
Heck off.
I want to hear it.
Frick off. Now she's all disappointed that it's okay. Fuck off.